economy,
well, I remember
being pretty good when he first came into office.
being pretty good when he first came in office.
It was. Because it was my economy.
It was.
Because it was my economy. I had spent 8 years cleaning up the mess the Republicans left me. Cleaning up the mess the Republicans left me. Y'all remember auto plants all across the Midwest, including here in Wisconsin, flat on their backs.
Midwest, including here in Wisconsin,
on the verge of bankruptcy. On the verge of bankruptcy.
And we worked and we worked.
And we worked and after 8 years, I then handed off over 75 straight months of job growth and low inflation to Donald Trump. And the only thing his tax cuts did back then was to help folks that were already doing good and drive up the deficit in the meantime. Trump's other big idea is to slap a tariff on everything from food to TVs. Now, almost every economist who has looked at this idea says that won't lower prices, that makes prices higher. And when he's challenged on this point, Trump will brag about, well, look at gas prices. They were $2 a gallon when I was in office. You know why gas was so cheap? Because there was a global lockdown during COVID and nobody was driving. And he's talking about it like it was the good old days. I want us to remember that. Yes, gas was super cheap because we were stuck inside the house. Nobody was buying gas. So then I'll hear people say, well, at least Donald Trump sent me a check during the pandemic. Now, y'all have heard this. I guarantee you some of you have heard this from somebody. So I want to clear this up as well. At the start of COVID, Democrats and Republicans joined together to send out emergency checks. Tammy was there. And you know what? Joe Biden worked with Congress and sent out an emergency check during the pandemic. Just like I worked with Congress to give people emergency relief during the Great Recession. There was not anything unique about what Donald Trump did, except unlike Joe Biden and me, he put his name on the check as a marketing tool. I'd never thought of that. For me, for Joe Biden, it was not about taking credit and advancing our politics and feeding our egos. It was about helping people during tough times. So, the point is, for those of you who are still making up your minds out there, do not give Donald Trump the benefit of the doubt because he was on a reality show. And certainly do not give him credit for an economy that he inherited. There is only one candidate who has offered serious ideas about how to drive down prices and make this economy work for everybody, and that is Kamala Harris. She's going to go after corporations that unfairly jack up prices. She's got detailed plans to work with local governments and the private sector to build 3 million new affordable homes all across America and then help first-time home buyers with their down payments. She's going to give a tax cut to 100 million middle-class and working Americans, helping small businesses get started, helping first-time parents with the basic costs of having a child. Now let's talk about health care. If you ask Donald Trump what he's going to do to make health care more affordable, he's got one answer, and that is end, repeal the Affordable Care Act. And he's not by himself. The other day, the Speaker of the House, the Republican Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, said there would be, quote, no Obamacare if Trump wins. Now, do not boo. Vote. Now, neither of them can really explain why they want to end it, except for the fact that I did it. The problem they have is, guess what? The Affordable Care Act works. Almost 50 million people have gotten health care because of it. Another 50 million have the security of knowing insurance companies can't deny them coverage because of a pre-existing condition. The more people benefit, the more popular it has become. Which is why a couple weeks ago, some of y'all saw this, Trump's running mate, Mr. Vance, do not boo, vote. Mr. Vance had the nerve to say Donald Trump, quote, salvaged the Affordable Care Act. What? What? Donald Trump spent his entire presidency trying to repeal the Affordable Care Act, trying to tear it down, and he couldn't even do that right. And now, 8 years after he was elected, he was asked, well, if you did repeal it, what would you replace it with? And he looked, and he kind of fumbled around, and they said, well, I've got concepts of a plan for how to replace it. Now, I want you to think about this for a second. Let's say your boss gives you an assignment, says, I need it by Friday. Friday rolls around. Your boss comes up to you, says, did you finish that project for me? And you say, well, actually, I haven't started, but I do have a concept of a plan. Or you could try it at home. Honey, did you do the dishes? You throw out the trash? I've been watching this football game, but I do have a concept of a plan to do the dishes. How's that going over? You're on the couch. If it would not work for you, why should it work for the President of the United States? It shouldn't. The good news is Kamala Harris doesn't have concepts of a plan. She has actual plans to limit out-of-pocket health care costs, to keep lowering prescription drug prices. And Kamala Harris understands the threat to women's health that has been posed by the decision of Donald Trump's Supreme Court to overturn Roe versus Wade. Since then, we have seen effective abortion bans in 20 states. Infant mortality rates have begun to tick up. Doctors are afraid to provide potential life-saving treatment to at-risk mothers. I've always said, I respect those who, for religious or ethical reasons, would not consider terminating their own pregnancy. But if nothing else, freedom must surely mean that women themselves get to make these profoundly intimate decisions, not politicians. And that's why, if Congress passes a bill to restore the reproductive freedom that women had for nearly 50 years and that Donald Trump bragged about taking away, Kamala Harris will sign it into law. That's what Kamala stands for, not concepts of a plan, actual plans to make your lives better, to protect your freedoms. Now, whenever Donald Trump is challenged on his lack of plans on the economy or health care or anything else, he will fall back on his favorite issue, and that is immigration. According to Trump, it does not matter what the issue is. Housing, crime, a lost pet. If you just let him round up whoever he wants, ship them out, all your problems will be solved. America will be great again. So let's talk about immigration for a second. A lot of folks have legitimate concerns about what's happening at our borders. It is critical that the next president work with Democrats and Republicans to make sure our borders are orderly and secure. We are a nation of immigrants. We are also a nation of laws. And we have to make sure that those two things work together. But, you know, whenever the issue of immigration comes up, Donald Trump likes to say it's Kamala Harris's fault. She's been vice president for 4 years. Why didn't she fix it? Wasn't Donald Trump president for 4 years? Why didn't he fix it? If rounding up and deporting millions of desperate people is the answer to everything, why was the number of undocumented immigrants basically the same when Donald Trump left office as when he took office? Think about that. I'll tell you why. Because Donald Trump doesn't have a real plan to solve immigration. He's got a concept of a plan, and it's a mean and ugly concept. You know what would actually bring order to the border and fix our immigration system? The bipartisan deal that Kamala Harris supported, even though it was written by one of the most conservative Republicans in Congress. Donald Trump, on the verge of the vote, told Republicans not to vote for it because his mindset was, I want this issue to run on. I want to be able to fearmonger. That's how I'm going to win this election. That's how he was thinking. We do not need a president in Wisconsin who will make problems worse just to make their politics better. We need a president who cares about solving problems and making your life better. And that's what Kamala Harris will do. And to help her do it, she's going to need a Senate full of public servants like Tammy Baldwin. Tammy spent her career fighting for things like good jobs and affordable health care and medication and personal freedom. She knows how to make a difference. She has proved she can make a difference. Remember how the Affordable Care Act lets young people stay on their parents' health care plan until they're 26? Tammy wrote that part of the bill. She knew it was important to Wisconsin families. That's the kind of workhorse and not showhorse that we need in Washington. That's the kind of person who's going to help get Kamala in office and help Kamala get stuff done. Somebody who shares our values. Somebody who wants to move this country forward and not back. Yeah, she's really good. Tammy's legit. Now, there's one last thing I hear from undecided voters, and this, I'll be honest with you, may be the toughest answer. Toughest to answer. They'll tell me that at the end of the day, from their perspective, politicians are all the same. They make empty promises, regardless who ends up being the next president. It's not really going to make a difference in their lives. And I know you've heard that from friends, neighbors, coworkers. And I think we can all understand why people might feel that way. You know, if you live in a small town in rural Wisconsin and you saw the plant close down and jobs get shipped overseas and young people start moving away because they don't feel like they've got a fair shot at advancement, you're going to feel skeptical about government being able to bring about real change. If you live in a neighborhood in Milwaukee where gun violence and the drug trade are a fact of life, and parents are scared about their kids just getting to and from school, you're going to feel the same way. If that's your perspective, I want to be honest. Politics, you're right, politics is not going to solve all of your problems. No matter how well-meaning a president might be, he or she is not going to get rid of poverty or eliminate racism in one term or two. No president's going to reverse